and going from building to building. I spent the last 2 days in a very, very special cell in our Southern Command. It's the harm mitigation cell in Beersheba in the command. And I want to talk about a few aspects of what I learned while I was down there. We've been making, again, with everything we have at our, in our capabilities, every effort we can to facilitate the movement of civilians in the south in order to mitigate civilian casualties. Our best efforts and minds are focused on understanding the human terrain in Gaza. Just to give you a taste of it, this map is based, and again we've talked about this in press releases, and we've talked about these zones, these areas, and every zone has a color which is based on intelligence, on human, on SIGINT, on every capability that we have to understand the human landscape in these zones and try and make movements and ask for people to move in order to minimize harm to these civilians. It's an interactive map, it's a breathing map, and it changes based on how the war is developing on the ground. We have ways to communicate with the people inside these zones. It's leaflets, it's through the internet, through our spokesperson to the Arab community, Lieutenant Colonel Avichai Edrahi. Just today I looked into the website, his website. There's been 250,000 people that have logged into that website from their areas, so we see that it's being used. We are still maximizing the humanitarian aid going into Gaza, and even despite the end of the pods, 180 trucks went in to Gaza yesterday, with 2 diesel tankers within that amount of trucks. We're still checking all the trucks at Nitzana before they go through to Rafah, and we're doing everything we can to set the conditions for the humanitarian zone in the Al-Muasi coastline. Again, I repeat, and this is important, we keep saying this in every brief, we are at war with Hamas, not the people of Gaza. I saw this, I was in the Southern Command for 2 days, I saw these efforts, I sat in briefings also from our Kogat people and also from the commander of this harm mitigation cell. Every effort we have, we're putting into this. Now I want to zoom into some specific data. It's a case study of a certain arena that we fought in, the Shati arena. And I want to give you all a taste of the battle zone, what it looked like. And we actually, with one of our very, very smart producers, went in and with a battalion commander and created some footage based on their lessons learned and what they actually met when they went into a certain area. Before, and I'll show shortly how we did it in Shati. We saw that their infrastructure was embedded inside civilian areas, which I'll show also shortly. And let's move ahead. So here you can see again how when you look at their order of battle, what it actually looked like. Again, they have a full formation just like a regular military. There was the Gaza Brigade, the Northern Gaza Brigade with battalions, and again we're talking about the Shati battalion inside the Gaza Brigade. You can see also the area on the coastline. Next slide, please. And just to give you a glimpse into the timeline, again these are the main events. This was day-to-day battle, but just the main events in our battle timeline. So on October 24th, we killed the deputy commander of the Shati battalion, Khalil Muhajiz. On November the 10th, the IDF troops secured one of their strongholds, the Badr stronghold, which was one of their main strongholds. I'll show it shortly on the map. On November 12th, after we secured that area, we secured an evacuation route for civilians. Sadly, Hamas fired at the civilians moving on that route, and we fired back. On November 14th, we obtained operational control of Shati, the whole region of Shati, after getting the help of our Air Force and the 250th Brigade. On December the 3rd, we killed the Shati battalion commander, Haitham Houawajari, in a joint operation. Now, what it looked like, just in a sort of basic infographic on the map, we entered this, the 162 division from the north and slowly and methodologically moved south with infantry and armour, which basically brought us to the Shifa hospital, which was inside the Shati battalion's region. This is the commander of the Shati battalion. And again, this gives you a taste, again, of what we're up against in these regions. This will also happen also in Sajaiya and Jabalia. It's happening now as we speak. Now, I'm going to show you a video. I'll let the video talk for itself. If you can just move ahead a bit. We're talking about the outskirts of Al-Shati. And now, again, this is just a first taste of what it looked like. We'll be doing in-depth lessons learned as the war moves ahead. But just to give you all a taste of what this thing is going to look like, this is a sort of zoom in into the outskirts of Al-Shati. We're going to hear the battalion commander shortly. Again, the landscape, the size, and the dimensions. We'll stop here. Here, move ahead a bit. You can see here, again, the cynical use of civilian infrastructure and what the commanders were up against when they went in to fight the Hamas strongholds. I'm going to let the movie talk for itself. You can see one of the battalion commanders.
שבפועל מהווה מעוז למחבלים. אפשר לראות פה, בסמוך לאיתור, את בית ילדים, מרחב של נדנדות וקרוסלות, שזה נראה לנו על הנייר משהו מאוד תמים ופשוט, ובפועל גם מפה יתבצע ירי, מכל מיני מקומות שיצאו מהם פירים. כל השטח הזה הוא מהווה מערכת אחת של האויב שמתקשרים דרך התת קרקע אל כיוון הגנים בבתי הספר. אני רוצה להראות לכם פה את הכניסה לגן ילדים.
You can see the kindergarten here. You can see this is after the fight was over.
שבפועל זאת עמדה לניהול לחימה. היה פה ממש חמ"ל בתוך המשרד של המנהלת, שבתוכו מנהלים לחימה ומפעילים פה את כל המערכת. ופה ממש פה במקום הזה נמצאו אמצעי לחימה רבים ועוד תשתיות של חמאס שממש עזרו להם להכין את כל המערכת שדיברתי עליה מקודם. טוב, אז אנחנו נמצאים בעצם מתחת למבנה שבתוכו יש פיר בקומת המרתף. המבנה הזה הוא מבנה שמיועד לטובת ייצור של אמצעי לחימה, ממש מחרטות שנמצאו פה, פיר שממנו יוצאים מחבלים, בתי ספר, גנים, הכל במתחם אחד. הבית ספר הזה, שהוא נראה כמו בית ספר עם כיתות ומקומות שלומדים בהם וכולי, זה מקום שבתוכו היה אמל"ח רב, שבוצע ירי מתוך המבנים, ממש מתוך הכיתות, לעבר כוחותינו. כל הקומות האלה בעצם היוו עמדות לחימה למחבלים שהגיעו למקום הזה, התארגנו בתוך המקום הזה וניסו לפגע בכוחותינו מתוך מתחם בית הספר. יש פה תשתיות ממש מוכנות להתקפה.
When we were there, the green map I was talking about, the map, the interactive map, most of the civilians were out.
ממש שטח כינוס למחבלים. במקביל לבית הספר, ממש בצמוד אליו, ניתן לראות מגדל של בניין מגורים, שפשוט משם המחבלים מתצפתים על כוחותינו, מסמנים לתוך הכוחות שבתוך בית ספר, ומנסים פשוט לראות לכיווננו תוך כדי התקדמות. במקביל לבית ספר הזה ממולו, אפשר לראות בית ספר נוסף, שבעצם מקיים הדדיות בין שני המבנים, ובעצם בחיבור ביניהם הם מהווים גם תצפית אחד לשני, וגם חיפויים אחד לשני מתוך בית הספר. אפשר לראות פה נקודה שנראה כמו חדר מגורים רגיל, או חדר שינה, ובתוכו ממש יש מחסן אמל"ח שמשמש את המחבלים, וזה שימוש ציני במקומות אזרחיים, שככה בעצם עובדים הטרוריסטים. צה"ל נכנס לפה אחרי שפינינו את כל האוכלוסייה האזרחית, ומה שקורה פה בסוף, שכל העמדות האלה של בתי הספר, וכל המקומות של הגני ילדים, וכל המקומות שבהם נראים על פניו אזורים תמימים, בפועל היווה כן למחבלים, ופשוט מה שקורה פה זה שלא ישאירו לנו ברירה, אלא להילחם בתוך מרחבים אזרחיים.
Okay, so that gives you, again, it's a sort of generic taste. And again, it left us no choice. We had to go in and tackle Hamas in that very, very urban area. Again, sending also our filmmakers into this to explain to the world what we're up against. And we don't have any other alternative. Again, when we look again at the map, the Shati, when we went into the Shati area, 75% of the population already were out of there. And it's a dynamic between operating and also making sure that we move civilians away from harm. I'll take some questions.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Colonel Hecht. So a question from Alistair Bunkle. Two questions, actually, about two reports circulating in international and Israeli media that he would like you to clarify. One is that the IDF is planning to flood some of the tunnels with seawater. Could you please refer to that?
So I saw that report. We're using all the things that we have to tackle the tunnel systems, and that's all I can say at this stage.
Second question has to do with two unnamed IDF officers that said that the death toll of 15,000 is accurate. Could you refer to that quote as well?
5,000, not 50,000.
Well, it's mentioned here. Alistair writes 15,000.
Yes, I saw that quote too. It was referred to an IDF senior official. I saw the number 5,000 Hamas terrorists killed. I saw that number. Next question.
Shoshana Solomon, Wall Street Journal. Why is Khan Yunis strategically important for Israel, and what should civilians do to stay safe?
So what civilians should do to stay safe is listen to the instructions that are coming out from our Twitter accounts, from our website, and also to look at the leaflets that are landing in their areas. We're also reaching out with other means to the populations to move. It will be more detailed, it will be more contained and more modular. They should, again, we've been giving these requests in the last few days, move from this area, this zone, to this other zone, to get out of harm's way.
Thank you. There's another question. Are there humanitarian zones besides Muasi?
The main zone that we're focused on right now is the Muasi. That's the zones that we are focused on. But again, if we say to, as this goes on and as this develops, to the people of a certain area, let's say in the outskirts of Khan Yunis, to move to Rafah, again, we mean that to move to that place, and we'll be focusing our operations on that area. So the best for them to do is always move to the Muasi. We'll be saying to them, that's our designed or designated humanitarian area, but we've added another layer to that, where we're saying, okay, leave your neighborhood from this time to this time, this zone, and move up to this certain area beyond the Muasi.
A spokesperson for the Secretary of State in the United States yesterday discussed the issue of not releasing additional women, referring to concerns that the Hamas might have that these women would tell what happened to them in captivity by the Hamas terrorists. Do you share the same concerns, and could you elaborate on that, please?
Well, I don't know about their concerns. I can't talk for their concerns, and they should be very concerned. We are seeing all the testimonies, and they're starting to come out, of the testimonies what happened on the 7th of October to these ladies, also in Israel, that were taken brutally into Gaza, into captivity. I'm seeing the social networks with a lot of pain and despair. I'm very much aware of the press conference that Ambassador Ardan had last night in the UN, talking about this issue. They should be concerned. We are concerned about our ladies' well-being. They're in captivity, and they should do everything they can to release them and surrender.
A follow-up on that, some families on Israeli TV were talking about their concern that their daughters are being sexually mistreated, sexually attacked. Is there any additional comment on that? Do you share that concern?
Absolutely, we share that concern. I mean, I've seen stuff on things that they released about how they captured one of our hostages and said what they intend to do to her while she's in captivity. It made every Israeli stay awake at night for many nights.
How long can the IDF sustain this level of operational activity without getting civilians out of the Strip?
So as I said before, we're doing everything we can to minimize. We understand that these actions that we're taking are to give us leeway to operate against Hamas. We also believe that the civilians of Gaza have been taken captive by Hamas, and we're doing everything we can to differentiate between what we're doing against Hamas, move civilians out of the way, bring in humanitarian aid, and target Hamas as aggressively as we can.
A question about the terrorist attack, the Hamas terrorist attack in Jerusalem a few days ago. What is the status of the investigation of Aviad Frija, the Israeli soldier who killed a civilian during the attack in Jerusalem?
It's a severe incident, also a very painful one, but we're still under review by our military police.
Question from Paul Adams from the BBC. Could you talk about the destruction of the court building yesterday and other symbolic buildings such as libraries, the parliament, the Islamic University, etc.? What is the rationale behind destroying such buildings?
The rationale is that any symbol or governmental building, if we believe that there's been Hamas activity from that location, we will destroy it.
Another question from Alistair. Could I ask another question if there is time? Senior Israeli commanders have said that operations in northern Gaza are almost complete. Could you explain what that means on the ground in northern Gaza? Will it allow you to redirect soldiers to operations in the south? And what will be the military presence in the north going forward?
So I won't lay out, Alistair, our operational plans. We're operating also in the north, a very intense battles also in the Sajaiya and also in the Jabalia arena, close quarter, face-to-face fighting. Still can't say a timeline to when that will be over.
We have several requests to see this this briefing again. So obviously everything that we do here in the GPO Center is on the GPO's VOD, and you're welcome to download it when this is over. Question from Scott Peterson. Since the breakdown of the ceasefire, how many Hamas rockets have been fired into Israel? And what does that say about the scale of continued Hamas capabilities after nearly 8 weeks of war?
So we actually had a fire. We still have to finalize it. There was one of the fires that came at us was from the humanitarian zone. That shows you how cynical this enemy is. But they're still firing in hundreds towards Israel, all over. Also this morning towards the Beersheba area, and also last night. So it's still in hundreds, and they still hold that capability. And we're still hunting down that capability.
Thank you. Pablo Duer from the Spanish news agency is also asking about the number of Hamas fighters been killed. You talked about this before. Can you indeed confirm that we estimate, that the IDF estimates 5,000 Hamas terrorists have been killed so far?
You saw the statement that Alistair mentioned. That's all I can say at this stage.
Thank you very much. That concludes the questions we have received here over Zoom.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, GPO.